This is Professional Training, Intro to FEMA and Firefighter online programs. My name is Carrie Winninger. I am the outreach lead for the Center for Environmental Inquiry at Sonoma State University. Thank you so much for coming. Usually these events are done at our Osborne Preserve on Sonoma Mountain in Pengrove, or our Galbraith Preserve near Yorkville in Mendocino. So we are all pivoting just as everyone is adapting to the shelter in place. And we're very happy to be able to connect in these new ways with some of you. And some of these things couldn't actually be done as easily in person, such as this webinar. So thank you again for joining. Before I let Ben take it away, I just want to tell you a little bit about what the Center for Environmental Inquiry is and how we can be a resource to you, no matter who you are. If you're an SSU student, staff, or faculty, if you are a member of the public, a student, a parent, a government employee, educator, or maybe you're an organization in need of environmental solutions. Either way, the center envisions a North Bay working together to find solutions that are sustainable. So that's everybody, all sectors of society. We're inviting you to come get environmentally ready with us. So how do we want to do that? We're building this community of learners and problem solvers. So we're giving firsthand understanding of our connection with the environment. We're giving skill building experiences that result in those sustainable solutions. So we're talking about getting motivated, aware, prepared with knowledge, and engaged with skills. And today's really about those skills. So thank you for being part of the solution. You are important in addressing these concerns. So it's really wonderful that you're here today. So first, we're going to focus today on what kind of training opportunities the center has to help you prepare for natural disasters, including wildfire. And as you probably know, these are generally increasing in frequency and intensity as our climate changes and as human impacts to the environment become more apparent. So a very timely topic. So the format today is pretty simple. It's a little less formal than some of the other events, but there is some great structure that Ben has put together. So feel free to leave your mics on, your video on, or off as you feel comfortable. This is the kind of event where there'll be times where it's better to talk near the end, but if you do have questions, it's okay to ask. And if you can always use the chat box if you're feeling shy, because I'll be monitoring the chat box. So after I'm done talking here, Ben's going to give an introduction and do a little activity for about 10 minutes. Then we're going to go over the FEMA trainings for about 15. Then over the Firefighter Type 2 overview and discussion. And then after that, we'll have time to compare our experiences, to ask any questions, or just discuss until the end of the hour. So if anyone has any questions about how that's all going to run, just give me a shout out. Otherwise, I am so very happy to introduce Benjamin Bravo, our resources manager at the center. So Ben, go ahead and take it away.
All right, I'm gonna just share my screen really quickly. Hello, my name is Benjamin Bravo. I'm the Preserve. Oh, can everyone see my screen? Is everything working?
I think we just need a second. There it goes.
Oh, okay. Hello, my name is Benjamin Bravo. I'm the Preserve Resources Manager at Sonoma State University. So I do a lot of work with our invasive plants and with some camera traps and a lot of other things relating to general preserve management. Oh, wait, sorry. And so today's training, we're going to talk about FEMA and the Firefighter 2 training and some of the trainings each one has. Each one has multiple trainings, so we're actually talking about 2 separate suites of training. And a lot of acronym numbers, a lot of things are really the main topics we're talking about. One of the sites learning a lot of really interesting hands-on, not hands-on, but stuff hands-on when you actually do an in-person component to the training. And so one thing I want to talk about or touch on really quick is safety training is more short-term, not short-term, but it's more immediate versus some of the kind of long-term environmentally ready concepts. Sometimes to be environmentally ready, people make these projections for how climate's going to change. People think about things 20, 30, 50 years down the line, and that's kind of the long-term solution. But some of the shorter-term solutions, things that you can do right now to be prepared, to be ready, I think also in some of our language, we talk about being prepared. And so having general safety information and training relating to environmental emergencies is definitely very important and something that all of us can do. It's something all of us can do very soon. We don't have to wait 20 years when the environmental catastrophes continue to escalate. We can get that training right now. So that's kind of part of my motivation for doing this. So really quickly, I'm going to touch on my motivations or my background, and then I'll open it up to all of you to kind of share about your personal experiences, why you're interested in these trainings in general. So I had a fair amount of experience in Boy Scouts when I was younger, doing a lot of emergency, like first aid, CPR, that kind of stuff. And then even this fall, I got more experience with wilderness first aid, recertifying my CPR. And I thought, oh, great, I'm set. I have all this training. I'm going to start this new job. I'm ready to go. And then we had the wildfires happen, and that was something that was much different than anything I've experienced. I had to get evacuated, and I worked remotely during that time. And while I was working remotely, I thought, oh, geez, I wish I had more experience. I wish I kind of knew what to do, maybe not in this specific case, but in general. And so that's when the Cert training came up. I'm going to touch on Cert in a little while. That's one of the FEMA trainings. But, you know, kind of this feeling of confusion and helplessness and not knowing what to do, not even with these other trainings that I've had, still feeling kind of powerless. I thought, I want to learn more. I want to learn. I want to know what to do so that way I can help myself, help others. So that was kind of my motivation for getting more into this sets of trainings, and part of the motivation for why I wanted to do the Firefighter 2 training as well. So now let's open it up to our audience. What interests you in general about these kind of trainings? What is your motivations? And I'll stop screen share for a little while.
Well, I know I was interested in the firefighter training. So that was something that we, it is interesting because I don't plan to go into that field, but I feel like it's something related to what I do for my job. Like enough people that I know at my job would be interested in that type of thing, that it's good for me to be knowledgeable and also to gone through it myself. Like there's something about that where you can't really talk effectively about something unless you've done it. And it seemed like a really rare opportunity to be able to do this field course without being hired by an agency. And so that's what appealed to me. And being able to train at my own time while I was busy with other things.
I mean, cards on the table. I need the internship hours I'm a Sonoma State student. I'm trying to be a graduating senior. So I'm trying to complete the FEMA and Firefighter 2 trainings in order to get my 45 hours internship credit.
Were you given any other options? Like, what did you choose between?
I mean, yes, but a lot of the other options are piecemeal, 3 hours here, 3 hours there, and you have to do a lot of things all together to add up to the 45 hours. And the FEMA and Firefighter 2 trainings, if you complete just the online portion, because the field day has been put off until at least July, if not later, just completing all of the online trainings count as the full internship.
And can I ask what department you're in that needs this internship?
I mean, I'm a bio major. I don't necessarily need the internship. It's that I'm missing one unit upper division, and I could have taken other classes to do it, or I could have kept going. But the easiest way to do, I was originally going to do the hosting, taking little kids around Fairfield Osborne Preserve. I've done that in the past, but I didn't take internship credit for it before. So I was planning on doing it this spring, and then that didn't work. So this is what I'm doing instead.
Okay. So it seems like you are kind of interested in environmental health in some way, right?
I mean, yeah, yes, I am. And I mean, I do live directly backed up to Oak Forest. So like knowing fire safety is very important.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I live in Mendocino County. It's very rural. It's mostly forest. and the fires have definitely highlighted the need for more training. On the property I live on, it's 20 acres. We've done a number of understory clearing. This property was probably logged about 50 years ago and then just allowed to grow kind of rampant. And so we've done a lot of understory clearing. We've been doing burn piles as long as the burn season lasts, which is the end is fast approaching. But I'm also interested in doing learning about controlled burn as a management tool. I'm a logistics manager up at the Galbraith Wildlands Preserve, so I'm excited for that as a management tool, and this training will definitely increase my knowledge base to get to that end.
I guess the only other thing I didn't say about why I want to learn about this is my nephew actually, straight out of high school, went into FEMA Corps and just had a really pivotal experience doing that. And so when I heard that there was also an opportunity to do FEMA trainings, and some of them are not very long, it seemed like, I don't know, a cool way to see why it was so impactful to him. And then when I saw all the different options, it was like, wow, like it seems like there's something for everybody, you know? So I haven't picked any yet. So that's one reason I'm here. It's like, yeah. All right, Ben, guide me.
Oh yeah. That makes sense. So we're all here for slightly different reasons, but it still seems like there's a general curiosity or interest in learning different skills. Let's see. Before I jump, actually, I'll jump back to screen share. If I'm looking over here, it's because I actually have two screens, so I'm not ignoring people. I'm just doing the screen share stuff. Oh, no, you took my photo. side view. All right, so we learned more about you. So today we learned about us. I'll talk a little about FEMA, and I'll talk about the Firefighter 2 trainings. I want to just quickly clarify that the Firefighter 2 trainings, they do include 2 FEMA trainings within that. So that's kind of, I'm technically be talking about FEMA trainings twice, but when I say FEMA, I'm referring to the main body of like 50 or 100, probably close to 100 trainings that they have or more. And then the Firefighter 2 are the 3 firefighter trainings plus these 2 other administrative related FEMA trainings. And I'll touch more on the distinctions between the 2, but that's kind of, in general, that's how this will be structured. So FEMA. So FEMA stands for Federal Emergency Management Agency. These are the different training themes. This is directly from their website, how they break things down. This doesn't quite say too much, even if you read through this. So in a few minutes, we'll actually look at their website and kind of look through some of the options. But if you do go to their website and go to one of the pages, you can click on this and you can see the 5 to 10 trainings that are related to mitigation, the 5 or 10 that are related to this other thing as well. So that's kind of a good way to search through the trainings instead of just looking at a long list where there's a bunch of numbers and IDs and things like that. It can be a little overwhelming and doesn't quite help you get to exactly what you're interested in looking at. And the training format, they tend to have standstill slides. It's kind of like a slideshow, but they have, I don't think FEMA has videos, that the firefighter one does. But FEMA has a lot of check-in questions, a lot of diagrams. I have the downloadable PDFs in red because it's really nice to be able to download the material, especially if you don't want to have to, if you want something to reference for when you're taking the test, for when you are doing different parts of the training, it's nice to have something that you can use. The Cert training, for example, definitely has a nice handbook, but that's more specific to that training. Not all of them have handbooks like that, but they do have summaries. And that's also a good way to figure out, hey, do I really want to take this course? Let me download the summary. I do want to specify that some of the trainings do have in-person requirements. So Cert, for example, is one I'll touch on very briefly, does have an in-person component that even I haven't done yet, but it's, wait a minute, whoops, oh, sorry. Okay, and after you finish Cert trainings, not Cert, FEMA trainings, what you get is more knowledge. You can get a certificate kind of like this, which is just a PDF, and I just copied it, but you get a certificate you can print out if you want. And you can get continuing ed units. Usually they're 10 hours is one unit. That might depend on what your field is, how they keep track of continuing ed. And if you did want college credit, if you're not a college student, or not, sorry, if you did want college credit, you don't have some kind of internship set up, like Elizabeth, there's ways to get college credit for it. Passing the test and finishing the class is free, but if you want units for it for some reason, there's a community college, I think it's in the East Coast, that is kind of the host for that side of things. You have to pay $88 a unit, and then you get units. So it's interesting how that's set up, but I haven't done that because I don't need it necessarily as units. That's how they have that all kind of set up. So I'm going to actually come back to this. We can look at this later, but I want to clarify that you don't need a FEMA ID to start the trainings. You just need it to complete the training, to take the final test that you have for each training. You have to have an ID, and I'll touch on that a little later. I already have this open. Skip that. So these are trainings that I've taken that I kind of recommend, that are kind of fun, that are, or at least very interesting to me. So they're Ben recommended trainings. And the first one is Cert. So Cert is just general emergency preparedness. And here's a quote directly from their manual. So it's a critical program in an effort to engage everyone in America in making their communities safer, more prepared, more resilient when incidents occur. As individuals, we can prepare our homes and families to cope during that critical period. So Cert in general is kind of like emergency preparedness, things you should know. There's, let's see if I get to, oh yeah, so there's a ton of overlap between CPR trainings, other first aid trainings that I've taken. There's a lot of common sense involved as well. And so Cert is kind of a nice addition to any other first aid or CPR trainings that you might have. And one thing it actually also does is, so it's community environmental response team training. It does kind of create this volunteer network. If you want to become part of something like that, you can become part of a Cert team that does help out a little bit during emergencies. There are some limits since you are just a volunteer, but you do have this training. So, but you don't need to jump into one of those programs. You can just use it for general emergency preparedness knowledge. So these are the things that you learn. General disaster preparedness, they talk a bit about fire safety. The search and rescue is a very interesting part that I wasn't as familiar with. You learn a little bit more about the organization side of it, so that's really relevant if you want to go into one of those. Learn about disaster psychology, and then terrorist incidents and other kind of larger scale incidents. So those are very useful things to know. You know, is there more? Oh wait, this is just a few clips of different things from the training to kind of give you a taste. I'm a visual learner, so that's kind of how I think of things are in terms of diagrams. So this is just a sample. You have some information about how to use a fire extinguisher in one of the units. You learn a little bit more about different safety placards and kind of different chemicals. You learn a little bit more about how to help people, how to move people when they're injured or during emergencies. And then there's also a section on triage, which is a very emotionally a little bit more of a difficult topic to process, but it was interesting to think about that and how a Cert volunteer would be able to kind of help with that to some extent. And so, oh, that's Cert. Another training that I took that I thought was pretty useful was the GIS for Emergency Management. So the GIS training, if you've already taken some GIS, this is really a breeze. You can just breeze right through it. Some of it's very much review. If you don't have much GIS experience, this actually is the first two chapters of this are pretty useful. And then it's mostly just a way to get you to think about how you can use it for environmental emergencies. It's not actually teaching you how to use the tool itself. It's more just kind of getting you to brainstorm and think and run through some scenarios. So that's why I found this training useful, even as someone who has GIS experience. And part of the ways this is relevant to our life, if you remember from the Kincaid fire, there were a lot of maps being made with different points, different new pieces of the fire that were spreading. with the overall outline of the map. All of that was created in GIS, and that was, it even says it right here, it even says GIS right here. And Sonoma County actually has a really great GIS, a lot of good GIS resources because we're trying to be prepared for the fires. So that's kind of a tie-in there. And then also a lot of the coronavirus information, they're called dashboards. They're something you can create with ArcGIS Online. I've noticed a lot of different counties and different organizations have been making these to keep track of that information. So GIS is definitely a very useful tool during environmental emergencies, and the FEMA training kind of touches on different ways you can use it, different kind of emergencies and what, yeah, it's a good primer. And lastly, to confuse everyone even more, there's a wildfire mitigation training. This one's only 1 hour, so it's very, very short. Nothing at all the level of magnitude as the firefighter trainings I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. But this is kind of a good primer. It's only 1 hour. It's really talking about a homeowner or someone who has a piece of land, how you can make your land safer to use. So it touches on wildfire spread, but it also, sorry, this is a Independent Study 320. It touches on how to make a defensible space, so how to kind of clear the area around your house, how to home hardening, which is also how to make your house safer, maybe swapping out different materials that you're using, and then it gives you a list of resources. And so this is a really good way just to think about wildfires and how they can affect you or your local area. And this is a great tie-in to CAL FIRE's resources. So CAL FIRE actually has an app, and it has a checklist. It doesn't show it right here, but if you download their app, there's actually a checklist that walks you through making your home defensible. So when I took this training, I took the training at the same time that I took the Cert training back in October, just a 1 hour quick training. I downloaded the app and I was playing with it. And I thought, oh, that's cool. So you can get more information about how to make your house defensible. And this is not a FEMA training. This is just something that I noticed was a really good tie-in. They may have mentioned it in the training material, I think, in the other resources section. But that's another thing to think about, something really quick, and they have some short videos on that. Let's see, edit this. Okay, so that's it for going through the FEMA trainings. But I think now is also a good time for us together to maybe look at the website. I can show you what the screen looks like for logging. Let me see. Where's FEMA? Oh wait. Can you all see this this web page, the FEMA web page? All right. So this is kind of what it looks like. So when I said there's different categories, I went to curriculum, and then it has it broken down by these five categories, and then you can say, oh, I want to learn more about response and recovery, and then it'll have a list of trainings that are kind of related to that. That's not the one that I usually would look at. I'm trying to remember which one. I think I'd looked at preparedness and technology. That's probably this one has a lot. This one's the one that had the GIS in it, and I'm trying to remember where the best category was. There's some that have like floods, fires, like each one has its own separate training. I think it could be, this one has more on livestock. So it is very specific. Some of it definitely is not, view all. Some of it's not related to all of us specifically, but this one has a lot of very specific trainings. I wouldn't necessarily recommend jumping into all of these, but if there's a specific topic you're interested in, this one has flood mitigation, just kind of general safety. So this kind of fits into the wildfire one as well. Wildfire, there's flood, earthquake, and the Cert one is one that I definitely recommend as a very good overview for emergency management. I think it touches on a lot of the Cert train, a lot of the FEMA trainings, kind of the general topics of them, and it's pretty condensed. Does anyone have questions, or I want to answer mic off. You don't have any questions?
Well, I guess I was actually already thinking about the range of time, right? So like you already mentioned one that takes an hour and another that takes 40 hours, right? Is that
it takes what?
In the
40?
firefighter training, which we really haven't talked about much yet,
Oh,
about 40. So
yeah.
on the FEMA
Yeah,
website, how long are they mostly shorter, like an hour to 6 hours, or are there a lot of really long ones as well?
yeah. So we can actually, the firefighter is not FEMA, and the 40 hours is actually, the firefighter is actually 5 trainings. The longest firefighter one is 20 hours. But yeah, so we can actually look at that. Let me go to the course list. So it took me a while to figure this out, but the number of units, you know, 10 hours is 1 unit. You can actually look at it really quickly. So we can look at it together. So this is 10 hours, 10 hours, 4 hours, 1 hour. There's a lot of 1 hours. I almost thought of making a graph of all of them, but there wasn't a quick way for me to download this, and I realized it's not a huge thing we can look at together. But there's a lot that are under 10 hours, 2 hours. So you can see there are little snippets. It would be interesting to kind of string together a few to get a certain, let's say you wanted 20 hours, you'd have to figure out which ones to string together. They say 3 hours, that's how many units you get, and maybe you can report that to someone that it was a 3-hour training. Some of these you can breeze through a lot quicker. So this one's 14 hours. I have no idea why, what that is, cost benefit analysis. Some of them are probably talking about FEMA specific tools or FEMA specific programs as well, some logistics. There are actually, to make things more confusing, there are 2 of the Firefighter 2 trainings in that list of 5 that are from the FEMA website. So IS 100C and IS 700B. So those are just, I call those logistics. I actually haven't looked at those yet, but incident command system. So it's relating to imagining some of the logistics they use, some of the probably terminology used when they do have incidents. So we can see here, yeah, a lot of them are under the 10 hours. So if you wanted 1 training to get to a large number of hours, FEMA is not necessarily the best way to do that. It's all a bunch of little pieces. Yeah, does that answer that question?
Yeah, and I guess I had a follow-up, which is, it seemed like I didn't quite realize how relevant this was to just the general public, right? Like
Yeah.
literally an educator or a parent or a homeowner. That's what some of these are targeting, it seems like. So is there a way to know, this training is for professionals, this training is for your homeowners, landowners? Like, is there any sort of filter like that to just view the ones that are more relevant?
Not in this one. Not that I've found, no. I think a lot of them still, I would say, are more for professionals, or for people who are, so just looking at the titles, you can even see how technical they sound, like for people prepared for this operation management. It's just like very, some of them definitely feel like they're maybe federal employees that jump to this website.
Like maybe their boss told them, go do this one.
Yeah. So some of these are very, and so I would, unfortunately, I don't know exactly how you would figure that out, except from looking at some of them. Like this one, emergency planning, that, I don't know, that sounds kind of general.
And maybe
developing and managing,
you'll get a better idea.
Developing and managing volunteers. Is that a good one? Let's see. It's this one. Yeah, this one.
Primary audience.
This one. Yeah, this one. Oh, they do say primary audience. Oh, great. Emergency managers, professionals. Yeah, I guess I must have skipped over that part. Yeah. It is interesting when you look at the summary. Sometimes they talk about specific like FEMA infrastructure, like volunteer reception center. Develop a plan for setting. That could be something FEMA specific. I'm not quite sure, or something relating to like their overall structure. I know that the Cert training, for example, the one that I talked about, that one is its own thing. Like they have a section in the training where they talk about how to set up a community emergency team. So a lot of these trainings could have that component in it. I think some of them are just good general trainings, but they are still tied to FEMA in some way. So flood insurance, this is very specific to certain flood things. But yeah, like I like these ones kind of. These seem like they're pretty general. The flood, like the wildfire mitigation, all these other ones are they say for mitigation staff, but really it seems to me more like general. Anyone who's going to kind of respond to that would benefit from it. Earthquake basics, that's very good for California. Oh, let's see, what was some of these have to do with higher education, like emergency management for higher education. That one sounds interesting as well for schools. There was one that even mentioned religious sensitivity during natural disasters, which I thought was very specific and very
Yeah, I see
something
it
I
right
wouldn't
there.
have
Religious and
would have thought of.
cultural. Oh, I think it just
Oh, I'm sorry.
religious and
Oh yeah,
cultural
this one.
literacy and competency. Yeah, and then
Yeah, I'm not
above
sure what that.
a couple. Yeah, protecting your home or small business.
Oh, yeah, so that's definitely, let's click on that one. That one actually sounds great. That one's 10 hours, so that must be a lot of content. Let's see, who is it? Audience. Oh, small business owners. Oh, cool. Well, that's something new. I'm glad we clicked on that one. This one is a very good general audience. And I know for some of these, for the Cert specifically, they had handouts like here's a checklist for how to make your home better for earthquakes or disasters, and they might give you like emergency kit checklists. This one definitely seems like it would do that as well. If we, let's see, download course materials. Let's see if this one actually comes with anything else. Oh, come on. Oh, this one has a lot of downloadable materials. So that's interesting. I bet these are for different type of situations. So yeah, it's nice that they do have a lot of materials. This must be a checklist. It looks kind of like a summary, but maybe not so much a checklist. But it does seem like they like to have checklists and things that make it easier to get information without having to like read a textbook or something like that. Handouts are nice. Exit this. Okay, so that's a good one to know. I'll have to write that down. Protecting your home. So IS 394A. Yeah, so it's definitely good to just play around with it, look around, and if anything sounds really technical, avoid some of the ones the ones that sound like they're referencing a specific program. You have to be part of Cert or something. I don't know. There's some that are very. It's a huge diversity of trainings. Yeah. All right. Anyone else have questions about the FEMA? We have some time for the fire trainings, which I don't have as much to talk about for those, but we can talk about those as well. Unlike the fire ones, for this one, you can just use whatever browser you're using, probably. They don't have too many special browser requirements. You just need to take the test to get like the certificate. All right, so exit that. Fire. So ended with fire. Now we're going on to more fire stuff. So the Firefighter 2 training originally came up because Claudia and I met with a group called Fire Forward. They are part of Audubon Canyon Ranch, and their goal is to train people, train students to train landowners on how to do prescribed burns. And so they are trying to make something called the Prescribed Burn Association, which is kind of like, I like to think of it like a neighborhood association, really just a group of people who live near each other or somehow know each other. And it's almost like a community. And the Prescribed Burn Association, they rotate around, they're volunteers, and they do prescribed burns on each other's lands. And so while you volunteer, you also get training. So that's something that Fire Forward at Audubon Canyon Ranch is trying to create, or that they've already kind of created. I forget where they are in the process, but Jared Childress from there met with us, and we thought students could be interested in this. This is a great opportunity for students, especially if they can get this Firefighter 2 training as part of it, and help out on the prescribed burn. So I think there's a separate field day that's not a prescribed burn itself, but the goal is after you've been trained, hopefully you'd be able to help out on some of the prescribed burns and really get more training and more experience through the process. So the Firefighter 2 training, it's about 40 hours of online training. So I'll touch on the training specifically. And then if you want to get that certification, you also have to do a PAC test and the in-person training. I'm not entirely sure how long it is, but I know it's a one-day thing. And for some, it does involve a $100 fee.
Sorry to interrupt, but I saw on the website the fee might have gone up. So just double check.
Oh,
that.
okay.
I think it said
Okay, that's good to know. 150? Oh, okay, that's good to know. I know Suzanne said there was some scholarships and a few other things involved, so it might not be that same amount for everybody, but or it might be free for some, but that's kind of general information about it. So there's 5 trainings. There's the ones that are all the fire ones that I think are really awesome, and there's some that are FEMA, which are maybe more technical and kind of just talking about different names. Seems like it involves talking about a lot of different organization names and acronyms, not as much on the fire itself. But those are all part of this training, and together they total close to 40 hours. So to think about this graphically, I'm a very visual learner. So the firefighting, you have your firefighting training, S130, very much basic to firefighting. Then you have the wildland fires, kind of more information about fires. This is the one I actually started with because I want to learn more about the fires themselves before I learned everything else. And then we have the wildland firefighting. So this is kind of like team development and a little bit like, this focuses more on thinking about ways people can interact when they're doing these fires and possible problems relating to the people themselves, not to the fire. So that's kind of an interesting additional module we have. And then we have the FEMA trainings, which I put way over here because they seem a little distant from the main core fire trainings. So the first training, the S190, or the one I started with first, this talks about fire basics, kind of fuel, temperature. It's really interesting to have the videos and you get to see things, and they have someone talking, they have a narrator, and they have questions. So I would say the fire trainings are definitely a little more interactive, but they do require that you are using Flash, like not Chrome, not Google Chrome, in order to save some of your progress. And I'll show you the website in a few minutes. There's S130, which is the core firefighting training. This one's 22 hours, so it does take a while, and it goes into a lot more in depth. And then there's the L180, which is more of the human side of things. So these are just outlines that I pulled directly from the website. I haven't done all the trainings, but I have started the L190, S190. And it does, if any of you have backgrounds in anything, there's a lot of other fields that these trainings tie into. I was actually surprised how much that one of the firefighter trainings talked about plant identification, talked about different plants in the United States as kind of an interesting, just talking about different fuel loads. So there is a lot of other topics that are covered, and they tie in a lot of things. There's a lot of common sense. There's a lot of leadership and managing people. And so there's something for everybody, and there's your own personal background knowledge will definitely tie into at least part of this, which is awesome, because a lot of us aren't firefighters, and we might not have that experience, but there is still some tie-in. Other notes: don't use Chrome, take notes, download handouts when you can. To actually get into the website, you do need a FEMA ID. So that's kind of one thing that makes this a little odd, is it's a totally separate website, but you do need a FEMA ID to even get to even the fire stuff. And I'm gonna just show you the website. Let's see. Yeah, I'll show you the website really quick. So this is the, let's remember the acronym, National Wildlife Coordinating Group's website. So, sorry, I did this in the wrong order. This is their website. And if you want to go to like S190, let's see if I have anything else open. Go to S190 and it will give you the course overview. You want to go to delivery information, and then under there, when you click on student delivery information, it'll take you to the website. So it's not on the this group's NWCG's website where you take the training, you have to go to the online part, click on the online training, log on, and then it takes you to this, which has doesn't say anything about wildfires or anything. So it's kind of it does say it right up here, but aside from that, it's like what this is a totally different website, and you have to get like another ID for this. So it's a little annoying. You have your FEMA ID you've already made, but you need to make a separate account thing for the wildlife group. And so here's where you do have to enter your FEMA ID. So you already have to have that before you do the second part. But it's only one page of questions. You fill out your mostly just general information. The part that makes this pretty annoying is that you have to wait 2 hours. So after you've done this, I think just because they have to verify things, you have to wait 2 hours before you can actually start. And then once they send you an email with your a totally separate number, not your FEMA ID, something totally different, you can log on. And so I just want to show you what that looks like really quickly. It just takes you to this, type in your ID. Hopefully this isn't confidential. And then it'll send you a code. So it does send you a code. I used phone because the email got lost. It'll send you a phone code. You do that. So it'll send you a text message, and then it's a one-time code, so you have to do this every time. It's not a password that you have to remember. All you have to remember is your user number, which I definitely recommend you write down somewhere because it's not super intuitive. But once you do that, you get to their website. So I just want to show you really quickly what their training website looks like. Separate from FEMA, it has its own issues, but its own benefits. And let's see if it's taking a little while to load. Oh, I'm using Chrome right now. That's okay, but really you should be doing this in another. So here's trainings that I have that I've started. To get a new training, you can look, type in the number here, or you can also browse all the courses. So this is its actual online portal once you're there. So I'm going to go back. I want to show you kind of what the training, what it looks like. Oh no, come on. Oh no. Let me see if I could actually. Oh, continue. Hopefully this works. Oh, come on. Oh, oops, my mistake. So these trainings are nice because they do have that interactive component, and so you do get to see videos. And this is kind of what it looks like. So it has different components. You have to take tests. I believe you have to get 70% on each individual test to move forward. The first one was pretty easy. And then you have a review at the end, or at least you do in some of them. I've even noticed there's even a difference between the type of program that you're using for each one. So the format of the S190 looks a little different than the general firefighter training. Sometimes the pop-up windows look a little different, but in general, they have videos. They have videos. They have a narrator. It's much more interactive, I would say, than the FEMA trainings. But let's see if I can get. Let's show you. Hopefully this works. So you can still get to the website and still run through stuff on Chrome, but it won't really save your progress unless you're. So yeah, there's a video and they have pop-out screens and things like that. So it's a little more fun, a little more interactive. Oh, stop talking. There we go. Yeah, so it's a fun training, a little more fun. Still feels like a training itself, so it does have kind of this, I don't want to say goofiness, but kind of this very much formulaic, and they still try to make it organic, but you can still tell it's a training. So, but I really like it. I like learning about the wildfires and being able to see stuff is really nice. I mean, the visual component is really nice. That's pretty much all I have for today. Does anyone have questions about maybe the FEMA or the firefighters.
Yeah, I just wanted
I went to
clarification
fire.
on why not to use Chrome, and it seems like it's because it won't save your work during the training. That's
Yeah, it won't save the progress. That's what it says on like some of their websites and stuff.
okay.
You can still get into the website itself, and it has to do with the Flash, the Flash software, like Java Flash. But yeah, that's the main reason.
So when you were doing this last fall, what prompted you to do it? Was it truly just like self-edification, or was it like you thought it would look good on a resume, or was it like how did you even know about this stuff?
The FEMA or the firefighter one?
Either one.
So FEMA, I actually heard about it from another AmeriCorps person who emailed all the AmeriCorps people at that time. And then I heard about it. I thought, oh, that'd be good to learn. It'd be good to kind of have that more emergency type of training for general edification, for maybe helping people in my community. The Cert training really talks about community members, and it almost sounds like it encourages you to really get to know people in your community so you can know who might be more vulnerable. So that's a really nice part of it. Fire training, I kind of into it because Claudia invited me to that meeting to talk to the fire forward people. But I think because of the wildfires, I had fires on my mind a lot more, and I was persistent, and Claudia and I and Suzanne, we all kind of started talking about what we could do with that. Sonoma State University itself, the preserves, there are some things that could benefit from prescribed burn, like treating yellow star thistle, possibly treating some of the Douglas fir, but it is kind of it is very risky, or there are risks to doing prescribed burns, and there's a lot of controls and documentation you have to do. So that's something that's part of the reason why I'm interested in that, is because it does, learning how to do prescribed burns could relate to my job more in the future. And now this position or other future positions, I think that's why the Firefighter 2 training in general is very useful. Especially, I think CAL FIRE over the past few years continue to make somewhat of an effort to get people to do prescribed burns to limit the spread of these massive wildfires. So I saw them speak at an event that I went to about 5 weeks ago, and they had a speaker from CAL FIRE talk about how they really do kind of want people to start doing prescribed burns, and they're trying to make opportunities for them to do that, but it is tricky. And of course, if someone's doing a prescribed burn on their own land and a huge fire pops up somewhere else, the CAL FIRE, they have to take all their trucks and go over there. So there's always kind of a resource limitation, but prescribed burns can prevent or limit big wildfires.
Ben, what's your understanding of the in-person training? Was July, now it's just pushed out indefinitely?
I just said that because I haven't heard anything from Suzanne. It would be Suzanne who's in more direct contact with Jared at Fire Forward. I'm not quite sure. I just made that assumption, and she also hasn't. There hasn't really been any more emails about it, but some of that is based on kind of the projections for how coronavirus might shape up and what's happening. If things are better by July, then I think it would still happen. But I haven't gotten any more news from Suzanne, but I should email her.
From what I heard from her
that
is that most likely it'll be it might be a combo now between SSU students and the public instead, or SSU folks and the public, whereas before it's going to be separate. And I think there is a date on the website, but who knows if it's going to stick, right? And I know that's where she got her information last, is actually looking on the website. So we could probably all go look ourselves and get just as much information as she has at the moment.
Oh, on Fire Forward's website?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just on there. I'm surprised I missed that.
I think that's where she saw the fee had gone up too. She and I were on a phone call about it.
Oh.
The website, and she was like, oh. And she was like saying the stuff out loud that she was reading. So I haven't seen it myself, but that's where I got that.
Makes sense. Yeah. Oh, they said they have one upcoming fire copy box postponed. Huh. Okay.
Oh, Ben,
That makes sense.
something
Yeah,
she
it could be.
mentioned that I haven't looked up. The training that you do online for the Wildfire 2, I believe I understood, but I could have gotten it a little bit off, that you have to complete that training within, like, it can't be more than a year that you take the field day. So if the field day, gets pushed off a year or something, like
Yeah.
you'll need to have completed the online training within the previous year. Is that true?
I haven't heard any more about that besides what you said.
Okay. I think it's just something to look into if people are trying to do the field day, and because things are up in the air with the field day, it might be a good idea to double check that, so you don't like complete it on May 10th and then it takes place next year on May 15th and you can't complete it. It would just be unfortunate to have something like that happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'll email Suzanne. Yeah.
Hard to predict anything
Or
right now.
maybe
No.
Yeah. Does anyone else have general questions?
I mean, if we do have like maybe one more minute, but then I like to give my last few minutes of information about the center. So yeah, if anyone does have any last minute questions or thoughts, this would be a great time to bring them up. All right. Well, Ben, I just need to say, like, that was just really well put together. Thank you so much. I don't know if everyone knows, but this was a rather last minute idea for him to do this, and he really put it together a really nice presentation. So thanks for going over all that with us, Ben. We do have, this is just one of dozens of events that we have this spring virtually. So I just wanted everyone to know. Oh, you can see me? Okay. My Zoom disappeared for a moment. Did I disappear for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll try and finish up quick because my internet doesn't seem super stable. So just letting you guys know that we have a whole bunch of events. So check out the website, which is cei.sonoma.edu. And if you do /calendar, it'll give you all those events in date order. So for example, this Thursday, Suzanne DeCourcy, our education manager, is giving an event about the health benefits of the outdoors. Then on Friday, we have a citizen science event with Kevin Monroe, who is the director of a preserve in New York for Nature Conservancy, all about dragonflies. And he's a really great speaker. So that one's going to be really fun. We'll learn how to actually identify them and then how to upload those to databases so that we're all contributing to science, even if it's just our backyard. And then Ben's leading some other events coming up too on wildlife cameras, camera traps, both the research perspective and then also the citizen science perspective. And we also have the sudden oak death blitzes. So if you have any trees in your area that you think might be infected with sudden oak death, it's a way to test them for free and also contribute to citizen science. And then all sorts of other things to look up. Deep dives into historical ecology, climate change, and personal action, what you can do to make a difference. All of these are coming up in the next month or so, and things do keep popping up, so keep checking back. And again, I just want to thank you all so much for coming and being part of the solution, and please let me know if you ever have any questions, comments, ideas, things you want to do together. Just shoot me an email. So my email was the one that sent you an email when you registered, but just to get it out there again, it is winninga@sonoma.edu. That's WINNINGEK@sonoma.edu. So thanks everybody. Unless there's any closing thoughts, I think we are 2 minutes early. So go off and have a fantastic start to your week. Stay safe, everybody. And thank you again.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Ben.
Take care, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.